Hi everybody, this is the start of our summer holiday. We've just got on the boat and I'm installing here my brand new Torqeedo 2.0. We'll put this on the bracket at the back here. It will be solar powered mainly by this solar panel, and we'll use the Tesla battery that I was using last year for the 801s. This is a 24 volt Tesla battery inside this box. What I need to do is put this on the back of the boat, and I've tied it on with this rope because although it's not that heavy, there's a danger that you might drop it, and I really don't want to lose this motor. Okay, that was really very easy. It's in place now. You can also see the old outboard we've got there, which I'm hoping not to have to use at all this year. And now all I've got to do is connect this to the connector in here. I've already wired in, and that comes straight from the Tesla battery in the back there. There, that's attached together. So now the motor's attached to the battery, and then here's the control lead. I'll attach that direct to the motor. So that just attaches in here. There. So now we've got the motor attached to the control lead and also attached to the battery here. So we should be able to actually start it up now. This is the other end of the control lead. I just have to attach that into this control box. So that's all wired in now. All I have to do, I think, is turn it on. Oh, that's good. So 23.9 volts. And now I think we can see if we can get it working. Let's try forwards a little bit. Yep. 10 watts going into it. 30 watts, 40 watts. And I can actually hear it going at the back here, just driving us along a very little bit. You can even see the propeller going around. Right, now to trim it properly and get it ready for tomorrow when we actually leave. Okay, it's 4 o'clock in the morning now, and we're about to start off. Okay, we're on the move now. You see us just passing these boats. You can hear the Torqeedo going behind us here. See how quickly we get to Pinmill. So it's about 5:30 now. We went for about an hour with the Torqeedo, but now the wind's picked up. So we're actually sailing. And the sun's about to rise. And then you see, lifted the Torqeedo up. We've got a bit of weed on it, but it's still working okay. And it's good the sun's going to come up because that will help to charge the battery. It's 7:15 now, and we're just going into a field of wind turbines. There's hardly any wind. We've got the Torqeedo going with about 300 watts of power. Maybe 350 average. It says we're going at 6.4 kilometers an hour. So it's got a little bit more windy. Unfortunately, the wind's coming from slightly the wrong direction. The sun's come out though, and so we're still using the Torqeedo to help us go as close to the wind as possible, using around about 300 watts there. And because the sun's out, we've got going into here 290 watts. So we've got almost as much going into the battery as coming out of it. Right, it's 11 o'clock now, and the tide is actually dead against us, and we're going dead into wind as well. So I've turned the Torqeedo up to 700, and we're still going at 3 kilometers an hour. Now unfortunately the sun's gone in, so we're not charging the batteries as much, so we couldn't go at this rate for many hours, but we should be able to get to the end of this channel in the next couple of hours, and then we'll be able to turn to the right, and by that time the tide should have slowed down as well, and hopefully then we can go straight on to Harwich. We've nearly arrived at Pinmill now. We're sailing along at about 7 knots. There's a great breeze of about 11 knots, and so we haven't been using the Torqeedo at all recently. I have noticed one thing though, it's dragging in the water a bit. So it's certainly not too low, because it was almost cavitating sometimes when we were going along, and that was only with using about 800 watts. And yet you can't lift it out any higher than this, which means that it drags in the water a bit. bit of a shame. Let's see what I can do about that. Maybe I need to actually take it off when I'm not using it. So we're arriving here in Harwich and we're on the way up to Pin Mill. And we're not using the Torqeedo yet, but we will at some point as we get into the river. At the moment it's just charging. It's charging quite nicely in the sun, so it's up to over 22 volts again. We're finally coming up to Pin Mill, but the wind's dropped down, so I'm just going to put the Torqeedo down and then that'll help us along a bit. I'll just turn it on in here and check the battery. 22.4 volts. And then just turn it on here. It's helping us along. Actually, that makes so much difference. Just 500 watts, and we're now going at 5 kilometers an hour, whereas we were hardly moving before. So we've arrived in Pin Mill. It's just gone 7 o'clock and it's low tide. We've anchored just off the mud. The Torqeedo did pretty well there. It did cut out actually coming up the river here, but that was because it went under 21 volts and the standard cutout is 21 volts. So I've now set it to cutting out at 18 volts by telling it it's got a lead acid battery. It's actually got a Tesla battery, but Tesla batteries go down to 18.5 volts. So that was a pretty successful first go with the Torqeedo. We covered about 40 nautical miles and we used up a lot of that Tesla battery, which is good because I've practiced running it down, and we can now see how long it takes to charge it up tomorrow through the solar panels.